highlight the importance of the support.
Yes.
There's a famous saying that you can do it on your own, maybe faster, but partnership or friends or encouragement help you to sustain it.
It does.
Just paraphrasing.
Welcome to the new foundation Christian Ministries B1 Marriage Ministry video podcast. I'm your host, Donald McFarlane, and my co-host, as
Natalie
usual,
Irving Mattox.
Very well. Natalie, we better just say where we can be reached and, persons connecting with us.
We want to first thank our viewers for tuning in each week with us. We're really happy for your feedback and we appreciate your comments. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel at New Foundation Christian Ministries. Press the bell for notification. Thank you.
Very well. So here we are, Natalie. One almost want to feel it's post-COVID, but we are still in the season. Yes. But we thought that one of the very important subject matters that we have to discuss is that about money. Hence, our series over the next few weeks or so will focus on money matters. But what better way we thought than to have somebody with us who understand, I would say, the importance of money.
Yes.
How to earn it.
That's
and
right.
Someone who we felt was most befitting to come and to share of a journey of moving from one job to the other, even into fulfilling a dream, I believe, of becoming an entrepreneur. Mine is a distinct privilege and pleasure to welcome on set the one and only Wilma Johnson Bailey.
I thank you so much.
Thanks for coming, Wilma.
Thank you
Nice
so
to
much
meet
for
you.
having me. Thank you so much.
Indeed. Wilma, incidentally, has been a long-standing friend of mine. I say no
certainly.
more.
Yes.
And I've grown to admire you, Wilma, in so many ways. And I'm very, very excited about you being here as we share on this matter.
Thank you.
For our audience, tell us, Wilma, your place of origin. Where were you born?
Okay. I was born in Portland Cottage in Clarendon, and I was grown up in a single-parent home, and that happens to be a father. For most persons, it would have been the mother.
Yes.
But it happens to be my father. He grew 3 girls without a mother. So I always say that what I am today, I owe it all to him. Of course, Jesus Christ at the helm.
Yes.
And the other part of it, he was not even a Christian father. But there was my grandmother and my aunt and so on. So they helped him to shape us along. So I was grown up in Portland Cottage. I'm from the Anglican Church. That is where we got our start. From the Anglican Church. I have now there are 7 of us. Originally it was 3, but there are now 7 of us, and all adults. My youngest brother is at Caribbean Maritime Institute.
Yes.
There are 2 boys and 5 girls.
Okay, great.
Very nice.
Completion number 7.
Yes. Wow.
But then you mentioned your, recognition of God and your Genesis in that church background. So clearly, you are one of those church women.
Certainly, I was very active in church. I mean,
Yes.
We had Daughters of the King, DOK, I had Sunday school. So as a Sunday school student until I became a Sunday school teacher. Yes. And I mean, in Anglican church, the altar person, you took up the communion and that kind of thing. And then we tidied the church. We did all of that, rural Jamaica. So you had to go to church. You had no choice. But then even when it got to the point where we didn't have to go, we still went.
Right.
Because church became a part of us.
Central place.
Yes.
So it is no telling that you are still in the church in as we speak now, Wilma. Yes, that's my research and information.
Not
that
losing that.
you're very even deeper in the church now.
I am in the church, actually married to a pastor.
Look at that.
my.
And I said to him that if I knew he was going back into full-time ministry, I don't know if I would have said yes. But God is good, and it is a wonderful blessing.
Yes.
It is a wonderful blessing. I cannot imagine my life now without church.
There you go.
Yes.
Without church.
Very well, very well. So, growing up then from rural times, and you know how your life evolved. You had an ambition, a particular inclination about what your life would be
Those
like?
days, you either wanted to be a teacher or a nurse or a police or a soldier. Those
That's
were
right.
the professions back in the... So, of course, I saw myself as a teacher because I was the more talkative of the lot. So I saw myself as a teacher. And then, but one of the things that really... I tell people it is something else. When I finished high school, I went to the Glenmuir High School in Maypen.
Okay.
And when I finished high school, all I wanted to do was to get married and have 4 boys.
Oh.
It is one of the
You
weirdest
wanted
things.
to become a housewife?
I don't even know about the housewife
Housewife,
part.
yes.
I just wanted to have the children.
Children,
It
okay.
was more the children.
Okay,
But
okay.
then God had another plan. God had
Yes.
another plan. So
There
I
you go.
came to Kingston and
Right. So tell us a little bit then, Wilma, about your work experience, because you would have clearly, as I know, work with some important organizations here in Jamaica.
Yes, I came to Kingston, as I said, and I furthered my education, Excelsior Community College, CAST at the time, so that dates me because it is now UTech. And then, of course, the University of the West Indies. And I worked at my first job was at the National Housing Trust. And it was temporary, and then I got a permanent position at the JPS. And I stayed there for most of my working life. I spent 22 years at the Jamaica Public Service Company. It was a very good experience. I left JPS and I went to Water Commission. Wow.
She's into utilities.
That I did not like. I think I didn't like that job because I was working out of town. I was in charge of 2 parishes, Manchester and St. Elizabeth. I only stayed there for 4 months. Mm-hmm. And then I left and I went to APM Terminals, which is now Kingston Container Terminals down at the wharf. I spent 3.5 years there. And although it was a much shorter period than JPS, it was the best working years of my life.
How so?
I was being paid well to do a job that I liked.
That's good. That is
And
good.
you hardly
Yes.
ever find that. I was corporate and client services manager, and there were no 2 days that were the same. It was just an interesting job, and you got to meet people from all over the world and so on. So I really enjoyed that. And then after I left, I was made redundant there. And after I left there, I went into government. I worked with local government, the Portmore Municipal Council. Right now, I think I'm still being baptized because I don't think that I have gotten through fully.
Yes.
But it was good. I'm very, very glad that I went because I got an idea of how government function, and not government from the central
That's
point,
right.
but from local, on the ground, everyday people, that kind of thing. So it was good. And it was from then that I went into Genesis Premium Financing.
Business.
Wow. Wow.
There you go.
But can I ask a quick question about that though? So you've made the transition from working for government to your business. So what would have inspired that?
Actually, when I left APM Terminals, I was actually made redundant because the Danish people, they had a contract with the Port Authority. That contract came to an end. I was employed by them. So I was made redundant. And it was during that time, I was there writing applications, trying to get job and so on, and nothing was coming up. And I had some friends and we were talking. And one of them said, why don't you try this? And I said, okay. I did my market research, walk up and down, go to people's offices, find out if they would be able to do this with their staff. Went I went like Portmore, Kingston. I would just drive and park my car someplace, and then I just walk. Quite nice. Got to speak to people to find out whether or not a business like that would have worked. Wow. And that was it, because I was unemployed and I needed, and it was during the time of setting up that business that I got the contract with the council. So the contract was for 2 years, so I took it, but I ended up staying 7 years there. So during the time when the business was being formed and taking shape, I was working at the council. I had somebody employed and things. But I believe God really structured that, because I couldn't do that on my own.
Yes.
So, very good question, Natalie, about, what would have sort of enhanced the transition. So, from what you have said, help me, let us see if we understand it this way. Could we say there was a bit of, and I say a bit of desperation, because you're now out of job, so you needed to do something, and many applications were not, bringing any results. So that kind of gave you a disposition to do something differently. But how, and it was researched, that idea, it was influenced, this business, was it influenced by the research, or the idea came to you out of some other experience and you research it?
Yes, it was. Yes. And I remember, I'm a praying person. I pray about, if I'm to drink that bottle of water and I feel uncomfortable, I'm going to pray about it. Right. I am a praying person. I remember I was saying, God, I'm bright, I'm qualified, I have experience. Why can't I get a job? What is it I needed to do? And I remember a friend of mine, she had migrated. She was living in Florida at the time, and she called me because she wanted to insure her car. However, she didn't have all the money. So I was trying to get motor vehicle insurance financing for her. And I couldn't get it anywhere at the time. I think this was in 2009. I couldn't get it anywhere. So every company I got to, and I was talking to a girlfriend, and I said, this is crazy. This is a job, this is a field I need to go in and provide motor vehicle financing for motor vehicle insurance. Yes. So that is where the market research came from, because I started visiting the insurance companies, and I started to ask them if this is something that they would do. And arising out of that, that is how I remember one day I said to God, it's a pension I'm going to use, So if you lose, it's you losing, it's not me. I was so, the thing is, I did not have a lot of money. So I was going to use just everything I had. So I wanted to make sure how this thing is going to work, because I don't have a job, Remember, I didn't have a job yet. So I don't have a job. And then the little money I have that I could use to pay my bills and so on, I'm going to use it to start business. So I felt comfortable in my spirit that is something. And then I had a girlfriend who was operating a business. And she said to me, Willie, you can come, man. I can give you a desk and a chair. And I said, thank you, Jesus.
Yeah, good to have good friends, eh?
Right. So like for the first 4 months of the business, I paid nothing. I paid absolutely nothing.
Wilma, Natalie, because these are some of the things, it's been talked as you're saying it, but I want to highlight, because I believe there are some critical things, even before we get to all the services that your company offers, and how relevant you are in the marketplace now. But there are some critical things, seem to me, and you guide me in this, for somebody who's watching, that it could help to inform the foundation, as it were, towards this transition into an entrepreneurial thrust. From Christian perspective, we might talk about sowing a seed. You had a seed, which is your pension. You said you needed to put all of that in it. Nothing was left. But you also made mention about feeling comfortable. So there was an idea of a business. Yes? You would say it's critical that if you're going to go into a business, at least it starts with an idea.
Yes.
you are also saying from your deliberation, help me here, that just don't run with the idea, but research.
Do your market research,
Exactly.
because that will determine whether or not your business fail or succeed.
Yes, that's very important.
That is very, very important, because you have to have a target market. You have to have a target market. So you have to look and say, okay, this is my target market. Are these people going to come to me?
Yes, yes.
So you have to lay the platform before you forge ahead.
I like that, Bishop, because so many times I think it's just the typical thing, because we have a hustling mentality in Jamaica. So it's about just, having something and see who would buy it, who would be, but there's no research behind it. So I really like the emphasis on researching before stepping out.
Right.
Yes, I like that.
So the idea, you said resonated.
Yes.
There's a passion.
Yes.
Then you research it. And then for you in your experience, there was somebody who was willing to partner with you.
That's another important point.
Yes.
Yes, I love
Yes.
that.
To get off the foundation.
Yes, she was saying, she just told me to come. And then not only, and that is why I cannot, when I speak of my life's journey in this way, I cannot overemphasize the presence of God and you having that relationship with God where you're locked into God, that when you're speaking, when God is speaking, you're hearing. Because I remember when I started and I said, God, this is all the money I have. So I am going to invest the money in the business, and I say, God, no, but I make you feel, because you can't feel and whatever. And then when it started, and like for the first 3 months, I didn't pay any rent, any utility. The 4th month I didn't. And the 5th month, I was able to pay all that I was supposed to have paid from the beginning. Right. Not only that, I had to rush to my father in Clarendon and say, Uncle P, I need some extra money for this, because the business was going somewhere.
Okay.
Because it was going somewhere.
Yeah,
yes,
can I
it was.
pull on that point? So 2 times now she you referred to a friend and then Uncle P.
Yes.
And I want us to highlight the importance of the support.
Yes.
There's a famous saying that you can do it on your own, maybe faster, but partnership or friends or encouragement help you to sustain it.
It does.
Just
does.
paraphrasing.
And the thing is, not everybody can go to the bank.
Yes.
Because at the time, I don't think that the bank, I would have had to do a portfolio and a business plan and all of those fancy things. And even when you do that, there's no guarantee that they're going to lend you the money. Plus, it's a high risk business.
That's right.
So they perhaps would not do that. So thank God I had that support. So I could have gotten some money here from my dad. Got this space. So I worked, I work it. I just worked that. So the support is very, very important.
Yeah. While I will momentarily invite you then, Wilma, to tell us all about the business, I want to ask a question about, I know there was a period not working, but then you got a job. Help me to understand, was there a real lack of financial flow? Did you reason it in that time, or did you see being an entrepreneur is a way to go, if I'm making sense there? Because you're qualified, you have the qualification to get a job, even though in that period you may not have been.
Right.
Yes.
I don't know if I even thought of being an entrepreneur. Like you said, I want my own business.
Yes.
I don't think I had that.
Right.
But once the concept came and the business started, I decided that I am going to plunge into this and I'm going to do everything to make this business work. So I was working an 8-to-5 job. I would leave work and I would sit around my computer at home and I would go until 2-3 o'clock in the morning, get a little sleep and go back. And God is good because I had dedicated person. I actually had a friend who I went to university with and she was unemployed at the time. So she decided that she would just come to fill the gap.
Yes.
She ended up staying with me for 2 years.
Look at that.
So that in itself was a blessing because it helped me to work. Because the business could not have
Yes.
So the salary and you're paying car loan and whatever. The business couldn't do all of that.
Yes.
Right.
Just a
Yes.
business starting up. So that is where she came and she helped to grow the business. Because we would meet and she was very good. And that is networking. Networking is one of the best things that you can do if you find the right people. Because we went to university together. She was my good friend. And we would sit and plan and do things. And she would say, no, man, do this. Because her major at the time was finance. So that helped me along, you know. So the networking helped.
Networking,
Yes.
That's good.
Yes.
partnership,
Yes.
critical to success.
Yes.
And now you are in a place of reasonable stability,
Yes. Yes.
holding your own
Of course.
in this
Yes.
Jamaican
Exactly.
society.
That sounds very exciting.
And post-COVID.
But let me tell you
Yes.
though, even the name Genesis Premium Finance, and I could not talk about Genesis and don't talk. I remember when my husband and I were dating at the time, and we were, because he really helped me along and so on with the logo,
Yes.
business logo and all of that, because he's very technical.
Yes.
And I remember the name, and I said, boy, I have to find a name for this business. So I sat around the computer and I was there, and the name Genesis came to me, Genesis Premium Financing. And I rushed to the registrar because the company's office, because you have to register the business, but you have to do a name search because you can't register a business that has the same. So when I went, the young lady said to me, the search costs X. So I said, miss, I don't have dollar. It's
funny.
Fitting. Me just a start, I mean, whisper to her, me tell her, me just a
Yes.
start. So I said, you're going to have to help me. And think, I said, if you pay it for me, I'll come back and pay, you know. I
Wow.
don't know the lady, you know.
Whoa.
And she told me, she said, okay. And she gave me the computer and she told me to check. And I checked and I realized that no company had that name. And I registered the business on that particular day. And God was true to his word. The day I registered that business was the day I got my first client.
Wow.
I did not even have a checking
Wow.
account. I used my personal checkbook.
Wow.
I just left, and because by that time I'd send out flyers and I'd call persons and say, look, I'm doing this business and at 3 Beechwood Avenue and so on. And while I was when I left the company's office, I never forget, my friend who had her office there called me and said, you have a customer, you know? And I said, really, where him come from? And I rushed down there and I just did what I had to do. So all the forms and so on, my husband and I, well, he was my husband, and we sat and we went through it and we did all the forms together. And the logo for the business is GPF with a lightning bolt. So I remember when I was saying, I need to have something that is going to, create an impact, man. And the lightning bolt thing just come. And I said, Osborne, just do this. And for it to be that way. And that is the thing. And may I tell you, about 4 years after, we were out with Reverend Sam Green to dinner. And we're talking about the business. And Reverend Sam Green said to us, you know something, Wilma? GPF. It is actually God's purpose fulfilled.
Wow.
That acronym.
That was just off the chain. I never thought of it. GPF, God's purpose fulfilled. So I tell everybody that is the underlying name of the company.
Yes.
So this is God's purpose fulfilled.
But
in
it's
Genesis Premium
Financing.
Financing.
Yes.
But you know what I admire too about Wilma is her ability to ask for help.
Yes.
Your
Yes.
humility.
Yes.
And I think that is a trait that as you seek to become an entrepreneur that you need.
Yes.
Because it is important. You just can't do everything on your own.
That is so true.
Yeah.
Well, we will have to put all these pieces together because Wilma, we want you have you into a next episode, which is when you're going to open up and tell us about the GPF. But this first phase of it must enhance somebody's watching, listening as to some essentials. to the journey of becoming an entrepreneur.
That's
We
right.
said there has to be an idea, vision.
Yes.
It must be supported by passion.
Yes.
It must be
Yes.
empirically substantiated by
Yes.
research.
Yes.
There's partnership that is important.
Yes.
And your partnership was not only your friend
yes.
and your husband,
yes.
and Uncle P,
Yes.
but a partnership with God.
Yes. Oh, that is the most important
important.
part of it, because if you're going into a business and God does not approve of you going into the business, because remember, we can only see our naked eyes. God
Right.
can see through that wall and
Yes.
what is
Yes.
going to happen later.
Yes.
So if God says, no, this is not the business I want you in, and you forge ahead, you're not going to succeed.
Yes, yes.
And that is so very
and
important.
Yes, and the important part about how asking for help, seeking
it?
the help, your humility,
There
how
you go.
important
Yeah.
that is.
We'll have to hold it at that right here and now, because we have this journey of a true experience of
Yes.
one who has come from the 9-to-5 world to be very strategically positioned
Yes.
as an entrepreneur. So we are going to have the Wilma Johnson Bailey in our next episode as we
Yes.
look at money matters. Thank you for joining us.
And thank you so much for having me.
So we want to thank our sponsor, Mattox Health and Fitness. We also want to implore you to continue to watch our YouTube channel. It's New Foundation Christian Ministries. Remember to subscribe by pressing the bell. Also follow us on all other social media platforms. It's on Facebook, it's a New Foundation Christian Ministries, and on Instagram, it is NFCM Official. Thank you. Goodbye.